documenting the front lines of the AI revolution, the AI Rebels podcast.
Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of the AI Rebels podcast. My name is Spencer.
And I'm Jacob. We're very excited to have Andrea with us. Andrea, you do so much in the AI field. As I've was looking into your background, you're the Chief AI Officer at AI Technology. You have written machine learning for the web, which is very popular. You have your hand in so many different things. I thought we could start, Andrea, giving us, who you are, a quick summary of who you are, where are you spending your time mostly these days, and we'll start there and we'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having me. Straight, a quick correction. Yeah, it was popular. The book was popular. I mean, every product has a start and an end. It still sell like 50 copy per year or something. Just to clarify, it was selling way more, but because machine learning evolved over time, right? And that's just to jump in a thing. I don't know if you're gonna talk about that, but that's one of the problem when AI moved that fast. Whatever I'm gonna write as a book today, it's not gonna be relevant in 1 year. The moment it's going to be published and printed is already old. This is the kind of thing. Now, I wasn't at that moment when I wrote it. I think it was 2016. But hey, things got old pretty quickly, and therefore it lasted for a few years very well. And as a testament how quickly we are moving, definitely it's still relevant in the sense that whoever let's say you're a software developer, in fact, it was designed and intended for that reason. So if you're a software developer and you want to become a machine learning engineer or data scientist, they will give you the initial tool to understand the mentality, what you need to train, what you need to learn in data pipeline, how I training the model, supervise, etc., which is still relevant today. It just doesn't have all the huge new things that you discover because there's so much. So it's just partially relevant, and
that
it's
makes
not
sense.
selling.
Yeah, that's an interesting problem. We haven't talked much.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, I was gonna say that's an interesting problem you're highlighting with the book, where it's moving so fast.
In AI or anything in AI, that's the problem. That said, apart from this correction, for what was important, who am I? I'm a data scientist. Well, I'm academic translated into a data scientist, and then I'm into kind of a business person that still have the hands-on sometimes. Therefore, what I do in a daily basis is talking to client, understanding their problem, then structuring a project and a team to solve it. Usually we develop a software or a code using AI, and the IP goes to the client. IP, intellectual property, goes to the client. That's what I do in a daily basis.
Awesome. And so how long have you been doing that gig? Well, business, I should say.
Yeah. So I started, I think, 2017. Since 2017, I kind of do the same job as it now. I'm talking to different clients, structuring different projects, and then I manage a team to deliver.
So what would you say is kind of the biggest difference between what projects people are looking to accomplish now versus in, 2017, 2018, back before, the rise of really large language models and the wave of Gen AI that we have now?
Okay, two distinctions. The way we work didn't change too much, because at the end of the day, we are a consultancy. Our goal is to keep screening for the best leading AI solution with GitHub. Whoever is familiar with GitHub, just to mention one, famous repo, and then find out that is interesting for this project. Let's try it out. It's something like that, right? That kind of mentality never goes away. Yeah. So the way we work internally, hopefully it's clear. If it's not, tell me. Because sometimes you give for granted things for granted for me, but not necessarily granted for the public. So the way we work is the same. Now, what changed definitely is the maturity of both our clients and maturity of the IT infrastructure, which means certain project, we no need to implement everything. We can just integrate with ready-made solution or things like that. The easiest example is sometimes you need really to train not necessarily large, but definitely a model. Now, yes, you can use an API with a ready-made model and just fine-tune it with that. There are pros and cons on that. I had to add to that. Variety, including security reason, the cost, long-term cost may not be as efficient as in you do your own model and you maintain yourself. Pros and cons, yeah? Liability is different because the liability is either yourself or into the vendor. I mean, there are many. The job will change. Now you can use API and integrate into the API, which we do with certain projects. You cannot do if you want an IP, obviously, right? Because
Yeah.
an intellectual leading a project in drone technologies to detect certain things and control the drone automatically. You cannot do it, not even today, automatically, for example. Well, certain things, but no specific things. Therefore, you need a specialized model, blah, blah, blah. The maturity of the car is way different. Now, client, when you talk about AI, understanding about what AI cannot do, they roughly understand what you're talking about. Before was pitch black. I mean, it's not an offense. It just take time to understand what they do.
Yeah.
What happens and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think that's, representative of the population at large as well, where AI has always been this sci-fi term for people where they didn't really understand, is this black box idea, artificial intelligence that can do all these things, and now it's kind of becoming more solidified, I feel like, for more and more
for
people.
the mass consumer. I said, on top of that, many people remember even in 18 or 19, they say, look, AI is actually doesn't really work. They were kind of right. What I mean by that, they were trying some commercial chatbot that was just qualifying. I mean, they have just a root of a graph of things. It was very standardized. It didn't actually work. They kind of were right, but they didn't understand that there is a way to make it work. It's just very expensive and very time consuming. You cannot do with a ready-made AI buzzword tool like there was the chatbot back in the day in 1819, which by the way was an hype back then. So now the hype catch up with the reality. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, there is less doubt in the market somehow.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. I know, and this is kind of related, where I know you've been working a lot on the state of AI, right? That report that you've put together, that big, comprehensive, high-level overview.
It's not that big, 30 pages, I think, 35.
Yeah, no, I mean, it covers a lot. There's a lot in it. I'm curious what, for you personally, where you've helped, put that all together, what's been a few of the big takeaways from 2024 for you?
For me, well, there are things that I didn't like too much because what is interesting for me usually is not really interesting for the public. And usually what's interesting for me is things that are yet not solved.
Mm-hmm.
I give an example. Yeah. So it's completely not interested to the public. Usually what I'm most proud of are not interested for the fact. So I discovered something that I still cannot make my mind around. But you ask me, I reply, but I'm not sure how many visualizations we'll have on that. Quickly, and then I move to something that is probably more interesting to the public. But for me, what is really interesting in the moment, it's a riddle for me, is, you know, data centers, right? Okay. How many data centers do you think there are in US, roughly? Then I say the number. I give you the number. Let's go quickly.
2,500.
No, about 5,000. Now,
5,000.
not all the data center are equal, different size, different hardware, different efficiency, blah blah. Okay, fine, but still 5,000. Now, who is the second? Who would you say is the second?
China.
Belgium.
Okay. I would say China too. It's not, but it already is a surprise, right? How many do you think? Who is the second? Whoever I tell you the second. How many do you think he has?
The second, 2,000.
I would say the same thing. Now, the second is actually second, third, and fourth are, I don't remember in which order, but let's say I think second is Germany, third is UK, fourth is China, with about 500, 10 times less. Now, I mean, there is something that I still don't understand about this. How is it possible a country like China with a population way larger, which, by the way, as a sophisticated tech, everyone pays with a phone more than us. I don't know mine, so they use a lot internet and services and data centers somehow. Yeah, they do with a fraction of that. With a fraction of, I don't still understand this. I still don't.
Yeah.
But I think for me, this is one of the things that are important. I confess, I did a post on that last week. Not zero visualization, but it's one of the posts that nobody care about. To me, it's a very interesting thing. Important to understand, by the way. But seems that not that many so have an interest on that, which I think is quite fundamental, I would say. Yeah.
No, that's fascinating. I'm going to go look that up afterwards, because now I'm wondering the same questions. Like, yeah, how are they doing that? That's a lot fewer than I would have expected.
I wrote a post on that. Give you, it's too long here, but give you a few hints. I don't have a solution. I say that. Even the post I say I don't have the solution. But this is for me one of the most interesting things. Other thing that let's raise the views for you guys. Because this, I don't know why. To me, it should rise a lot, especially from investor. I mean, if you're an investor, you should understand that, right?
It's a big question, yeah.
No, that's huge.
I don't know. Even in the fact that nobody talks about, it's strange to me. I don't know. I don't want to get.
Well,
yeah. Anyway.
Well, I'm curious then with this report, for someone who's not familiar with AI, how it works, what's going on, what would you say are like the top 1 to 3 things people should know that happened in 2024? Like the big things in your mind, the hinge points.
So in 2024, the most important kind of overall thing that happened is that has been proved. And by the way, this is one of the things we got it right from the Friedrichs report, because that happened, is, so back one sentence. So in 2023, there was this kind of mentality, the larger is the better. I mean, quantity versus quality. The more you have, billion of parameters to the trillions, GTP4 to the trillions of parameters, the better and the more sophisticated and the more powerful the model is. That was 2023. Now we are in 2024, as we already say in 2023, kind of predicted, kind of plateauing the number of parameters. It's still rising, but not massively. Mm-hmm. There are really reasons for that. One of the major reasons is you can rise a lot, but if you don't have comparable amount of training data to do it, you cannot rise to the infinity and not scaling to infinity as the same level of the data. You see what I mean? So that was a massive limitation. It still is somehow. So you cannot do it even if you want to. On top of that, there is marginal training on that. Therefore, one of the things that happen is smaller model get very close, or actually closer to the top performance available. I think is O3 Mini is one of the, if not still the best, slightly better than R1 from DeepSeek, the infamous one. But still, if you see the benchmarks, even smaller, when I say smaller is O3 Mini, who knows how many it has, but let's say it has 500 billion to 1 trillion parameters, something like that, or more, something like that. We don't know, it's not disclosed. I mean, on 10% or so from the top performance, you have model with 50 billion parameter, a fraction. There's many meaning for that. There are many reasons for that. One of which is, once you create a very, very large model that has performance, what you can do is, this is called distillation. So you take it out and you distill and compress in a kind of a smaller model. There are many ways to do that, by the way. And therefore you have a smaller model, which also means if you don't do the bigger model first, you cannot do the smaller. It's not like they say today, because one of the hype today is like, oh, DeepSeek was so clever, the other were kind of stupid. It doesn't work that way, because without the biggest one, you couldn't do the small one later.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
No, you don't understand this. Without them, you couldn't do them. There's no way around. It's not that they were following something without... No, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's more complex than that, but just to give an idea.
Yeah. So you've talked about synthetic data before, and I felt like this was probably a good segue and moment to talk about that.
Sure.
As we're talking about scaling the models. As we start getting these better and better models, so for example, ChatGPT 4.5 obviously was just announced today. Do you see the role of synthetic data growing in future training of models at this point?
100%, but the problem is now, well, not this year, but definitely in 2-3 years, there will be a problem of definition. What is synthetic? What I mean by that, if you prompted them, it's also a legal definition. I think 1 month ago or something, there was a law court on someone that was using an image generation tool. I don't remember which one. And the court decided that whatever he generated, it has no intellectual property. Yeah? Which means that is synthetic, it's not him. From a legal perspective, right? Synthetic means it's not you, it's not a human, who owns it? Nobody. It's for everyone.
Yeah, yeah.
So even from a legal perspective, there is, but even in practice, it's different because imagine, right? You start, you do a prompt, and then you have a prompt. Yes, you refine. I would argue the more if you refine consistently what the output was, they still add the value from you.
Right.
But it's blurring. So what's synthetic and what is not synthetic and this is a big problem because one of the niche sector in AI that is growing the most, or at least I think it will grow even further for various reasons, if you want to, we can talk about, is what is called data labeling. Scale AI, familiar with Scale AI? Basically, these companies have a large pool of what they call trainers, which basically mean there are people that teach a model something, teach a bit of math, teach a specific thing of accounting or certain to defense, whatever it is for the clients, yeah? So they have a platform that allows user with some knowledge, counting, math, whatever, to train the models automatically, yeah? Online, whatever, and generate few data to the model, etc. This thing, when this happening, obviously is synthetic data in a way, but from the human. I don't know if so very, very soon what is will be, so the first point for me or for everyone is what is synthetic and not synthetic. At the moment, what is considered synthetic is you do one prompt, the output, whatever the output is, that is completely synthetic. Or you have a generation model. What I mean by that is you define certain statistics, let's say people, certain age, etc. Then you add some randomization or variability, give random height 2 foot. 2 inches, 2 foot is a little bit much. 2 inches of the person and randomly adjust it. And then you create a pool of people with different height, 2 inches random, 1.5, 0.6, randomly. If you use a model like that with many variable, that create and generate a data set of synthetic data. It's completely generated based on a model.
Mm-hmm.
And that model can be even an online model, whatever the model is. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, there are many ways in which an AI, even a large language model or a large model for image, etc., becomes that synthetic data generation model that can be used in other.
Yeah.
And they still use it today, they will be using in the future. But at some point, there's 2 things I think that there will be a very difficult problem to understand what is synthetic and what is human.
Right.
I see. And why is that so significant, do you think, to understand?
Well, first of all, it's the legal issue.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many, and it's not trivial in terms also of liabilities. But many lawsuits are at the moment. A lot will depend on how this lawsuit will end up too. It's funny because, okay, so I remember, one of the, I think it's Sam Altman that said, so one of the way they DeepSeek train one of their model is somehow somewhere, like there are many techniques, but basically they have an API from OpenAI. So DeepSeek uses the API of OpenAI to basically prompt the model a lot so they can get specialized data, they can use it there. This is actually, so basically they use synthetic data from another model. But the point is that model has infringement copyright allegedly. Nobody knows because there are on real data for other companies.
Right.
So this is for DeepSeek is synthetic to OpenAI. But to open AI to the company is not synthetic.
Right, right.
Oh, I see.
So
Yeah.
is your concern kind of that, like, generated content even will end up like, so say, say OpenAI AI loses one of their lawsuits. Your concern is that some of this generated data could then be considered infringing as well.
Generated from infringement, yeah. It's a very complex. A rule can be okay after the second step is synthetic anyway. Or I don't know if it's legally possible to say something. It needs to be a demonstration of adding value from the human. An image generation, okay, I do a prompt, fine. But then after I not correct that, I don't like the blue. No, I don't like the black a little bit. And then, or I also refine myself with, digital pencil, whatever. If there is an additional value from the human, and that is legally defined, I don't know, can be legally defined, a non-legal aspect. I would argue that is still or supposed to be considered human generated.
Yeah, interesting.
So, but you see, we are getting in a very...
It's very, where is it going to land? Yeah.
We are getting a very... Because no doubt, it's a question of contribution. I think everyone will agree, right? Both the human and the machine contributed. It's a question of proportion. Right? If the proportion is 99%, the machine did everything, you say yes.
Synthetic. Yeah.
But if you actually add something that is very distinctive, then should be the case that the human contribution was the main factor of the image or the text, whatever that is, hence is human.
Yeah. But then it brings the question, like, how is that going to be enforced? How's that going to be?
That's a problem. I don't know if it's legally possible to define.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, it was because of me that this came to be, when in reality, the AI did 99%. Like, but how do you, it's going to be messy. It's going to be very messy.
It is. It has to, yeah. It needs to be, okay, the image is unique. Image or the text is unique. Fine, first of all. Now, where does uniqueness come from? Machine or human? Because if it's not unique, nobody cares. It's fine. But if it's unique, this uniqueness come from the human or from the machine?
Yeah. So what would you define? What's your definition of synthetic data?
Synthetic data needs to be, to me, well, it's something that is being created by the machine for if not entirely, or at least, quote, 90% of the contribution. Now, how to define that? If I create a statistical model, and then I press I use the statistical model, it's possible, it's done today, right? You put in a large language model or whatever model is, and then you press the button, so to speak, and create more prompt, more data, etc. That is synthetic, no doubt about it. Unfortunately, the problem is more complex if this model has underlying usage of data that wasn't synthetic for start with, which is many cases now. The problem is most of the model we use today, as in the most successful one, layer and layer of other data that come from other stuff. Everyone is building on top to the others. It's like saying the internet is built on top of the telco infrastructure. You cannot have this goal if you remove the copper line back in the 1800s. I'm sure some part of the world still has it. It's the same thing. Every new model will come in the future. Somehow, somewhere, there is still Wikipedia large corpus on it somehow that come back to, even in my book, there was and everyone is still, then it's enlarged a lot. But at the core, at the initial, it's still there somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, I'm sure this will become more and more of a problem. I mean, we're already seeing it with, things like DeepSeek and all these lawsuits that are happening, but I feel like there hasn't been a definitive resolution to anything yet, and
no,
we'll see in the coming months what happens there.
It's also difficult to get a final again, remember when I started, not even presenting myself, I say, oh, my book is already quote useless because we are going so fast. It's been cancelled. It's very difficult to find a definition when things move that fast.
Yeah.
So you need a definition that future-proof, which is a bit even harder.
Yeah, that's difficult. Yeah.
It's not needs to be valid for 2
right.
years and then, oh, no, oh, God, we are already over it. Let's rewrite. You need a definition that is principle-based enough that no matter how future-proof, no matter how advanced and the performer will be in the future, it's still old.
It's difficult. Open-ended definitions are a little bit paradoxical.
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. This just brings more questions to mind, but we'll move on because I don't know if there's a good answer yet. Andrea, this is kind of a different realm of what you do. But I know you advise I think it's Antler Venture Capital, is that right?
I did that. Antler now is Wahed Saudi Aramco, but I was advisor for Antler. Yes, that's.
And was Antler very focused on artificial intelligence, investing in AI companies, or was it more general?
Yeah, so it's a little bit more general, as in, Antler invests in any startup that he thinks is a good, viable business, basically.
Okay. Well, in
tech-based or tech-enabled, but not necessarily AI.
Okay, got it. Well, I'm curious then from that experience where I'm sure you saw so many different tech and AI companies. We have so many listeners and guests on who are working to start a company. Have you noticed any trends that successful companies have in the tech and AI space? What sets a AI or tech company apart from others?
Very difficult in that. Also because trends, you need to be a trend. A trend doesn't last long. I can give you a trend that I think is going to be, it's happening now. So if you're fast enough, guys, you can do something with that. Is
Stop
AI
recording
safety.
this part real quick.
Exactly. AI safety. But AI safety tool and models.
Mm-hmm.
There is a huge need for finding structure that is independent from the AI model. For example, don't remember, there are a few that are already done, but there is still space if you move fast. So for compliance, as in, so let's say you have a chatbot, it can be everything really, but a chatbot is the easiest things to say. You want to protect it from giving, derogative output, for example, or even being injected, like jailbreak and stuff, bad input that then come back, bad output. So the way to do it is to create so the user doesn't interact directly with the model. There's a layer in between. It can be a model itself, but it's not the main model you've loaded. This layer in between as the communication on, like, okay, if you read derogative term or he has asked you something in a subject he shouldn't ask, you don't go to the model. You stop before. Yeah. Same for obviously image generation, etc., etc., etc. So, and you need to somehow link that to the compliance. Now, I assume you're in US or Canada kind of regulator, right? As far as I know, I could be wrong, but there is no AI regulation as such, apart from few states, like I think guideline in Texas or California, some. But overall, you have it. Fair enough, even in China, you have it. And they have trust. Funny, China has traceability of the output. Anyway. So if you create structures and product and solution around the compliance of the AI, this is a trend that is happening right now. That's something that people buy. Because if you find a good product, a good price, etc., people will buy it. Because they cannot use it, and they cannot. It's a bit silly to think that the same, vendor that give you OpenAI, it will also do the security, because there is a conflict of interest. They can, if they do one, they can be ingested on the other. You need an external part.
I see what you're saying. So, in your perspective, what impact do you think regulations like the regulations that the EU have passed have on AI innovation? Do you think that it's the type of regulation that fosters innovation, or do you think it's the type of innovation that limits it? Let me grab my cat off the counter while you're answering.
It's
He
okay.
jumped off.
Okay, cool. Yes and no. So the UI Act is what is called a horizontal regulation, which means a regulation is across any. By the way, the UI Act the principle of UI Act is not about business. It's to protect life and especially human life. What it means is what is regulated, what is going to be have a governance in. If you are a company that does, for example, education or healthcare, so your AI system can, impact heavily the life of the person because you've, suggesting medicine or you're scoring their exam. This is a huge impact on the life of the person, right? And you should be highly regulated. That's the kind of the principle. If you're talking to a chatbot for customer service for your cattle broken in the kitchen, you can survive. It's okay. Small regulation for you, or little. That's the kind of principle, okay? But again, it's the same for every industry, horizontal, okay? There are others who don't regulate, or like the UK has a vertical approach, or California has a vertical, as a guidelines. Now, the issue with the vertical approach or no guidelines, the problem is it's kind of saying you don't need to regulate, but any authority, like the Financial Conduct Authority for anything related to fintech or payment or the stock market, whatever, or the Health Organization Authority, any country that has one, if they feel there is a need specific for AI, they will add something their own regulation. So it's going to become a vertical regulation because there are already industries, they are already regulated per se. Forget about AI. Insurance is very regulated. Of course, healthcare is very regulated. Food production, just to give a few examples. So they have whoever is operating this industry, one of these industries already regulated by one of these authorities. They need to follow a lot of compliance for food production. Got it, right? Now, that means they have also a mandate. They feel if you use AI in healthcare, it needs to be regulated in some way or need an extra additional addendum on the governance you're already doing, they can do it. That's a kind of a vertical approach. Yeah. What is not clear to date is, let's say in the future, for whatever reason, healthcare authorities say, hang on, this AI can be dangerous, producing this kind of medicine, so you need to add this. The food, I don't know, the food, how's it called? Food Production Authority, or whatever it is. They say, in food production, this is not, this can be dangerous. You should add, if you're using AI system to, scan the food before, whatever, you need to add this regulation. All of a sudden, and these are two different authorities do their own regulation in different way. All of a sudden, the technology provider not only needs to be compliant not on one, mind two, if these two examples, different one.
Right.
Or three, or four. So the advantage of having one cross-industry body of law on AI, then it becomes exactly an advantage.
Makes sense.
But only if that will become the case.
Yeah.
Only if the vertical regulations
will take
occur.
If the vertical, any authority, somehow they will feel the need to do one, at that point, the good one will the cross.
Then you'd prefer the EU's approach to a horizontal cross-industry regulation.
Not me. It will be in practice the most efficient way, because otherwise, look at the mess. Every authority will be their own, and the company needs to do different ones.
Yeah, and there could be conflicting
instead of doing
regulations.
One.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then they get mad.
You multiply the costs for a company to be compliant.
Hey, you know what though? Americans love our lawyers, so.
Well, you're not the only one, but the problem is it's not what is unclear today. That's why there is ambiguity, uncertainty. The unclear situation, because it's not certain that every industry should have an addendum on their own regulation if they are really regulation just for AI. That's not clear, and not clear even to me. Probably not. But if it's yes, AI Act will win.
Yeah, interesting. So if you could...
But can I give an example so it's clear one thing? Let's say everyone should understand this. You buy a flight ticket. You go online, you check the price. Okay, the price is $50. You check. Okay, I check this evening. Who knows? You go this evening and you say, oh, the price now is $65, $15 more. Okay? What do you usually think? Oh, it's the airline that knows by the cookies or whatever. They aren't checking the price. They raise the price.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is illegal.
Yeah.
You cannot, before AI, no airlines in the world cannot individualize, or there is a word for it anyway, they cannot target the individual. They can target across a different segment. It's illegal to do that one. If they change the price, they need to change for everyone. It's illegal. So what I'm trying to say is that when the flying authority, there is a name of it, right? I'm sure. Aviation authority, I think it's called. They want to do something for AI. Well, they have already said something that forbid the usage of sophisticated technology to target individuals. So AI or not, you cannot use it, full stop. So there is no need there. Although you implicitly could say there is, but there is.
Yeah, that makes sense. Which might be a good approach if you were to regulate, is have a more broad, like the aviation authority, where they say like you can't do this because it hurts the individual. It allows you to take advantage and do these things.
That was before the AI, yeah? That's what I'm trying to make you understand. I mean, way before the AI was already legal.
Yeah.
No problem. And now they just, in fact, in a way, the new regulation, especially in AI Act, are kind of uniform. What's the word? Like harmonizing, yeah, with previous regulation, including the aviation. You cannot target people, etc. Individually, at least.
Okay. Spencer, is there anything else you wanted to ask related here before I
go for it.
take a pivot? Okay. So you, Andre, I think you're unique as far as the other guests we've had, because I know that you speak regularly, you travel, and you talk about AI to audiences. I'm really curious, as you've gone through this experience, if you've noticed a cultural difference in different areas of the world where you've spoken, on people's view of AI, on their approach to AI. What are some maybe funny but also like interesting key differences you've seen as you've talked to different people?
Okay, I can give you the funny one because it's straight on my head, and then we can go on that. So as you say, I talked in many different conferences around the world, but one of the things that obviously in Saudi Arabia, I give a few talks down there, and even in very, very technical conferences like in cybersecurity conference, etc. Now, all this was, I mean, a real surprise is in Saudi Arabia, at least in the conference I went, which were fairly big, 50%, let's say 40% of the audience were female in a cybersecurity conference. In UK, it doesn't happen. US doubled it. Europe, 100% doesn't. It does happen in Saudi Arabia.
Interesting.
It's a bit strange.
I wonder why.
It's strange for me to see it because, I mean, yeah. Yeah.
So you need to take a page out of their book and figure out how to make that happen.
They are interested because usually, look, I have a bachelor in physics and then PhD, blah, blah, blah. Few women are interested in such a technical subject. I don't think I'm not offending anyone, I believe. My experience is they are just not interested. Why not? It's not me to say, but definitely they are not interested or less interested than men on technical subjects.
Yeah.
That's at least what I could say. Now, in Saudi Arabia, apparently they are way more interested in technical subjects than their counterpart in Western society.
Yeah.
Or at least in terms of audience. That's what I definitely can say. Now, in terms of other differences, look, one of the good things of the tech world is it's very, very international. I mean, obviously, I travel physically, I see people but again, when a GitHub is being released, whatever the GitHub is, everyone has access to that. Everyone who is interested into that has probably seen it. And so, in that perspective, I don't see much of a difference in terms of knowledge or quality of knowledge. Sometimes it's a bit different, the mentality. For example, I met a few Asian people that the way they reason on a certain specific topic is way different than us because they have different limitations than us. We are born and raised, I'm talking about general Western society.
Yeah.
To use whatever you can use and express yourself in whatever way you can easily feel that in Asian culture that's not the case. And that's reflect also when they talk about coding or what you can do with coding or coding in general. And that's also Japan, by the way. I'm not talking about, China or, politically different countries. Put it that way. Japan is kind of more similar to us.
Yeah.
In terms of political, but it's not in culture. That's the point.
Yeah, and that's where, because it is so interconnected, but when you, obviously a big issue in AI and tech with software and technology based on data sets is implicit biases, right? That get woven into these data sets that then are manifested later by the AI. I know there's been a lot of different organizations that had different struggles. Google had a big one. So it will be very interesting to see different models developed by different countries and then to compare them. I think it'll be fascinating as more and more countries have, like China. I don't know if their big one is DeepSeek right now, but like.
Well, something that's been really interesting to me is the number of just completely state-of-the-art and uncensored video models coming out of China. To my count, there's been, I think, 2 or 3 in the last 6 months that were all,
Interesting.
at state-of-the-art or near state-of-the-art levels when they came out.
That's true.
And much less censored than any of the American hosted models, which has been fascinating to me because honestly, when it comes to visual arts, I would have expected probably the opposite to be true. But I guess, the laws around copyright regarding American copyrights are a lot looser there, and that probably has a part to play.
Yeah, also that now you make me remember is a kind of strikingly different because another culture is let's say the Arabic culture, the Middle East in a broad sense, right? For them, religiously speaking, is difficult to interact with image or people because it's kind of against their tradition and culture. To give an example, even if you want to use Tinder or things like that, you don't show the face on Tinder. Because it's, showing the face, or even on, look, this is easier.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, okay? If you see people on LinkedIn from Saudi Arabia, etc., some of them, quite a few, they don't put the face, they put the initials or things like that. Because
I have noticed that, yeah.
Because it's, again, their tradition, because the only one, God is not represented, nobody is as God, so I know God, nobody can do it. This is kind of, I'm simplifying a lot, hopefully. I'm not a Muslim scholar or any sort, but hopefully I'm not offending them, but it's against their tradition and culture to represent the face of a human person because it's basically saying you're close to God in which you are not. That's the kind of, it's kind of an insult. Therefore, I would suspect that this kind of culture will not do image generation.
Yeah.
Not because they can't.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
Because they, it's not exactly culturally close to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it'll be interesting to see what they
will do other things.
I feel, because I wonder if certain countries will thrive with certain types of models as time progresses. Like, maybe they wouldn't do image generation, but maybe they'll thrive.
Something around prose or something. Different prose or something like that. It could be because writing is something that the elaborate writing or something like that, they are probably more specialized than us culturally. I would not be surprised. In fact, come back to the prediction, you want some prediction. So for this year, I'm expecting, so one of the, not only DeepSeek, by the way, there are other reasons, but one, since we are talking about DeepSeek as well, when, I think it was Jesse Owen, when there is the 100-meter time,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you go
Yeah.
below the barrier, everyone goes over because it's kind of also a psychological barrier kind of thing.
Right.
Did you hear this kind of reasoning about it? I think it's when he went under the 10 second, was it 10 second? I don't remember.
I believe
But anyway,
so, the 10-second barrier. And then,
Yeah.
similar story with like the 4-minute mile as well.
Yeah, exactly. Once you overcome the barrier, which is definitely physical, but also psychological, many other believe it's possible they actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think DeepSeek acted, it's not the only reason, but it definitely acted like that. When you
Yeah,
show
I see.
that
Yeah.
other company, they can do that, there will be many others. And I wrote in that I'm expecting that this year top 10 benchmark will come from other, let's say, emerging countries. India is one great candidate. It could not be India. I would not even surprise Indonesia will do it. Brazil, someone. Because the mentality has been broken. Other can do it, so we could do it too.
Yeah.
It's just the mentality has been broken. I
Yeah,
think
that's
it's kind
pretty
of that
pivotal.
thing. There are other factors. I don't want to go to it, but yeah, definitely this is one. And I would be very surprised if one of the emerging countries does at least reach top 10 in some
Fascinating
of
to
this
watch.
model.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's at least one of my prediction.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, do you have any other, as you put together the report, do you have any other predictions for 2025 that you think might happen?
But yeah, well, there are many. In fact, I don't remember all of them by heart, but definitely, if you're talking about hardware, Nvidia will still stay on top in terms of top performance. But I suspect a mid market is going to open it up because, okay, if you want top performance and you don't care how much you cost, you go to Nvidia. You will still go for Nvidia. However, I think it's going to emerge a series of companies that still want to train certain models. They not necessarily, want the top performance, decent performance, decent price. In other words, it's opening up a mid market, which doesn't exist today, but it's going to open it up. Yeah. And in the mid market, other players like AMD or others will play a part. So it's kind of a differentiation of the market in that way, right? Before you have just the top, and then the market just diversified. You just not have one the cover, or then you have the top kind of premium product, then you have a mid-market product, and who knows, maybe one day we have also but definitely a mid-market kind of
Yeah.
product.
I'd be curious, do you see, there's the tensor processing units, who I don't recall the company building them, and then Google's
GPUs,
linear processing units. Do you see either of those kind of starting to fill larger roles within this meat market that you're speaking of, or do you think that those are still both kind of a few years off from playing a major role?
Okay, for disclosure, I need to do this preamble. Sometimes I get in love a little bit with the technology, so I'm not too rational. There is one of them that, in fact, I don't remember the name, which is weird, but I really love. It's based on a mixture of blockchain AI. I will coming back to my mind. That does one of different way to processing unit. Come back in my mind. There is the famous, chip designer that working there. Anyway, yes and no. What I mean by that, this year will probably be more technology-wise, more standardized ways to produce chips. But I would not be surprised in a few years from now, we'll have new ways to produce chips. They are better, more cost-effective, etc. But this year, because to ramp up production, etc., it's already too late. We're in March. But definitely, 100%, I believe there will be new ways to do this kind of computation.
Well, Andrea, as we're wrapping up here, the episode, we have a lot of listeners, as I mentioned, that are working in AI, whether they're starting a company, they're at a startup. Do you have any general advice to people to really thrive in the AI space? I feel like you've had a longer experience than many in AI, and you've thrived. You've done really well.
In which position or job? What was ideally the career they want to have?
Go ahead, Spencer.
I was going to say, let's pretend that there's someone who is not in AI but wants to play a role in the field, whether that's
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever that role is.
Okay, fine. It's not yet in the AI, but I want to okay, first of all.
Yeah.
I started from the basic. In that case, it's starting from the basic. We will be surprised how many software developers, less people they already in AI, they still unfortunately have this problem. At least that's what I say, is type fast. I know it's something very trivial, but learn how to type fast. It's not too difficult. In fact, I'm saying that, but some of my employees, when I noticed that there are online courses you can do, and they make you do the gaming or whatever, and they make you type fast. In a few months you do it. And it's better even for your life. It's not, in company time, in my case, they get better in all their activities. Anyway, so the first thing is type fast. Second, obviously experimenting with all these AI solutions. Better even if you can, I don't know what's as being your path in life, but AI now applies to everything. So if you can find a way to, to using your own job or whatever it is obviously the way. Another suggestion I give it to you is a bit clunky, but it's a good thing for you if you want to get into the AI. The fact that it's clunky is what is called agentic AI. Again, to come back on the prediction, just to that, I'm sure many heard the word agentic AI is coming. Many that, no, it's not coming this year. Just to clarify on that, and the reason is because of this, because the technology is clunky. Now, this is a great opportunity for you. Since it's clunky, go in one of these platforms and try to implement your own assistant or your calendar automation. When you go on Telegram, WhatsApp, whatever you use, you send a voice note, automatically you can fill up your calendar with stuff. Try to be able to do this.
Yeah, that's great advice.
It's clunky. Great for you, because if it wasn't, it doesn't have value, right? No value for you. So if you have no technical skills, that's what I would suggest. Be fast in typing. Please experiment with the technology, but do some agentic, of this just for fun and to understand how all of that works and what are, the solution about how clunky is. Which is, again, is a good thing for you because, if it wasn't clunky, once you learn it, nobody, will care about.
No, that's great advice.
To your point on the fast typing, in high school I cheated my way through my typing course because my friend and I discovered a bug in the system where you just had to press, I don't remember the series of keys, but you pressed a certain series of keys and it marked all of the assignments complete for you. Anyways, and that held me back the first year or so of being a software developer. It was just not being able to type fast. Anyways, just had to.
It's good advice.
You reminded me of that. Had to get that story off. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts on AI and the AI space. It was really fascinating to hear, and it's awesome to hear from somebody who's been around in the space for so long, and since before the attention is all you need paper, really, and that's these days that's an eternity. It's only 7 years, but that's an eternity.
Maybe so. Yeah.
If our viewers want to follow you, see what you're up to, what is the best way to do that?
Look, I'm very active on LinkedIn. If I miss your message, by the way, on LinkedIn, it's not gonna want to reply. Just been under the list, and politely you can send it back. I reply, even we are no thank you, but I always reply. So this is LinkedIn. So if you want to email, is andrea@aitechnologies.co. And if you're interested in all the silly things I say, there is also on LinkedIn as well. There is AI newsletter, AI by a human. You can follow that.
And we'll drop links as well for people to follow you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. We'll stay in touch.
Thank you.